Well, thank you very much, Terry. I can't tell you how happy I am to be here in Mississauga, in the city of one of the most famous mayors on the North American continent, Hazel McCallion. And people may have thought I was going to say something else, but she's a proud member of our organization, and I appreciate it. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate this invitation and how much I respect what OFAH has done over 86 years. It's always been a puzzle to me in terms of how people try to separate the fish and wildlife from environmental quality. And what you have done over the period of your organization to develop this understanding, enjoyment, and appreciation of the natural world, to me, has just gone light years to advance the cause of protecting this natural world so that the critters can live a good life as well. So I think that's absolutely wonderful. I got a real early start. In fact, I can't remember how old I was when I first had a fishing rod in my hand. It might have been 3, 4, something like that. And I had my first 20 gauge at 10 for bird hunting, and for ducks at age 12, I got a 12 gauge. And it's funny, when my son was 5 days old, my wife sent me out to buy a couple of toys, and I bought him a fishing rod, a little plastic fishing rod. And she said that I was a little ambitious and kind of jumping the gun on that, but he's a very avid angler now as well, and very happy to be up here speaking with you and to be part of that. Well, this is what we don't want to have happen. One of the earlier speakers said we got to simplify these regulations and things. We're dealing with a lot of big, tough, complicated problems. This is what we don't want. I've seen this. I think maybe everybody up here on the panel has had an opportunity to see this, and it's absolutely as devastating, as frightening as it looks. This is what we want a little bit more of. And yeah, I was really cold, and that one went right back in the lake, or in the river, the Muskegon River. But this is really the kind of fishery we want to enhance and develop. And I can, although I'm a recovering lawyer and an English literature major, I listen to a lot of the experts who I share the panel with here, and there is a very high likelihood that the Asian carp in the Great Lakes and the tributaries would absolutely devastate these types of experience. This is my son and me sitting in a duck blind a couple of years ago to catch the other part, and I try to wear it on my front all the time as well. Not all the time, but certainly for meetings like this. And I really, before the word environment was ever used, I was fishing and hunting, and it was through those experiences that I really developed an appreciation and an understanding and a recognition of the kinds of problems that we are facing. I'm going to try to do 4 things today relatively quickly, and Terry was kind enough to just gloss over a little bit why I got a split. I've got tickets for the Blackhawks tonight at 7 back in Chicago, and I thought if I could get away with speaking and running any place, I could do that in Canada. So please forgive me. And by the way, congratulations to your gold medal hockey teams here, both of them. I will point out that there were 6 Blackhawks on the ice for the gold medal final. So I try to keep things as simple and as straightforward as possible. I know there's a lot of detail and complexity, but sometimes you have to step back a little bit and see, okay, what is it that we're really talking about? And by the way, I do want to verify that I am a card-carrying member of the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters. In fact, I think I may be running for president of the Chicago chapter. I may be the only one and might be able to make it. And this is going right next to my Blackhawk sticker on my car. So the 4 things I want to talk about today are awareness, learning, options, and action. This fella, it's kind of hard to tell who's more unhappy there, the Asian carp or Jerry Rasmussen, who apparently was one of the early fish and wildlife guys who said, you shouldn't let these into this country in the first place, and he couldn't have been more right about it. First, a little bit about our organization, the Cities Initiative. We're 112 U.S. and Canadian cities now, representing about 17 million people. We are dedicated and committed to the long-term protection, restoration, and sustainability of the resource. We look at water quality, water quantity, and waterfront vitality, but also the broader issues of economic, social, and broad environmental protection. So this is quite a range. I'm putting a few miles on keeping up with all of our members. We slipped out a little bit into the saltwater, but they're good dues-paying members, so we care about them as well. In terms of awareness, I don't know if you use this up in Canada much, but it's become popular down in the U.S. to say a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. And to a certain degree, Asian carp, I think, has raised the level of awareness and attention and concern about invasive species far more than I have ever seen in the past of 40 years of working on trying to solve environmental problems. Yes, they're bad. We've got to solve this problem. But I think that there is more attention to this than any other almost environmental issue I've seen. Many of our city councils, I think over 50 around the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Basin now, have passed resolutions committed to dealing with and solving this problem and focusing very specifically on something that's very controversial, and that is physical separation, recreating a natural divide between the Great Lakes Basin and the Mississippi River Basin. It's winding up in schools. I get emails from high school students all the time. Can you tell me about Asian carp? What's happening? What is being done about it? And the place where I get it the most is going across the border. You know, the first question is, what do you do? Who do you work for? Why are you here? And then the immediate response is, you're not going to let those Asian carp get in, are you? He said, because I want to catch my walleyes, I want to catch my pickerel and things like that. So I think the awareness is out there like it's never been before, and we need to continue to do more to make sure all of the right people are aware, and particularly in Ottawa and Washington. Learning. Awareness alone isn't enough. This is a very complicated issue, well beyond my ability to understand it, and that's why I hang around with smart guys like the ones up here on the podium with me. Understanding biologically what's going on out there in the environment is a very complicated and difficult thing. As difficult as that is, it is also difficult to come up with solutions to deal with it. A number of different things are being tried: chemicals, intensive fishing, electric barriers, all sorts of things. But we have spent a lot of the last 2 or 3 years really educating ourselves on this and trying to learn as much as possible. And secondly, along with that, I've always maintained that one of the most important things in environmental problem solving is getting the right people together in one room, talking, but more importantly, listening to one another. So very early in the process, the Great Lakes Commission and ourselves were able to get some grant money and have been convening over the last 3.5 years a group of 30 to 35 stakeholders from the U.S. and Canada from all different perspectives. Terry has represented OFAH very effectively, and I just want to take my hat, if I had one, off to Terry. He is a wonderful representative not only of OFAH, but the Canadian perspective, and helps bring us all together. So we've been working with stakeholders intensively over this time period. And as with a lot of things, you can't just look at the carp and the solutions to the carp, because there are collateral issues. We have a very complicated plumbing system in Chicago. It isn't the best, but it's served us for over 110 years now. It's time to take a fresh look at it. We have 4,600 miles of sewers and water mains in Chicago, for starters. The Chicago Area Waterway System, which has 5 fingers that reach out into Lake Michigan, is about 130 miles of natural but more human-created waterway systems. And transportation systems, water quality management, and flood control are all integrated into this system. So we've had to spend a lot of time and energy and money understanding the collateral implications of this. The problem 110 years ago when they thought they solved the sewage problem by taking it out of Lake Michigan and sending it to the Gulf of Mexico was it was a very unidimensional approach to problem solving. You really have to look at how you interact and how you affect other things. So right from the outset, we said we've got to look more broadly than just the Asian carp issue. Actually, the easiest part of the solution is the barriers, which we believe quite strongly is the right way to go. But dealing with these other issues is very, very difficult and complicated. Just to give you a sense of the operation, the options that we came up with physical separation, we had three basic scenarios. A single barrier called the downriver solution that would basically block the whole system off. Reversing 130 miles of rivers was going to be a bit more of a challenge and could be handled hydraulically. And then there was a near lake option with 5 barriers relatively close to the lake, and that one presented much more difficulty for the transportation side of things. So the mid-system alternative is the one that really appears to have the most merit and closely parallels what the Army Corps of Engineers have come up with. It's a little bit of the Goldilocks, not too hot, not too warm. And the interesting thing is it most closely parallels the original natural divide between the Mississippi River and the Great Lakes Basin. And I don't want to get too theological, but I think the powers that created it did it for a good reason. A lot of people say, what does a barrier look like? This is just a very simple schematic of it where barges coming from the lower part of the slide move up towards the actual physical barrier. This would actually be a multimodal where there could be storage, train, truck, and those would be lakers on the top side of the slide that actually would go back and forth out into the Great Lakes. Things would have to be lifted over rather than just going through as they do now. But again, this isn't real rocket science technology. It's something that could be done. It's the massive nature of the hydraulic system that's the real challenge. So we've got some awareness of the problem. We've done some educating on it. We've developed some options. And the real challenge we face now, and it's probably the biggest challenge of all of them, and I'm going to let John Goss has got the solution to all of this, so I'll just touch on it briefly.
Keep going there.
Yeah, okay. So we've got 35 different interests represented in the room, and we've got basically the 3 options that we developed. The Corps of Engineers' GLMRIS, Great Lakes Mississippi River Interbasin Study, has essentially 8 options, 4 of which have separation as all or part of it. There are some other things out there. So we've got all of these ideas out on the table now. In addition to those, whatever is done is going to take some time. I would say a minimum of 10 years, more likely in the 20-year range. We need more protection in the interim, and we're really zeroing in on that right now. But what our real goal is to, among this group of 35 disparate interests, see if we can develop a regional consensus. It's not the kind of thing, and the slide from the last presenter that had the car going into the wet concrete, that's kind of what we are afraid would happen if it just went out to Washington for a solution, or maybe Ottawa as well. It's not going to be easy out in the region either. But what we have done, Tim Eder and I, Great Lakes Commission and the Cities Initiative, have been convening this group and more or less directing it over the last 3.5 years. We are now in the process, and it looks very likely that we are going to get funding to bring in an outside facilitator and, in fact, with mediation skills so that we can really try to come as close to a solution that everybody either likes or can live with. So that's where we are right now. We're going to be meeting again on March 25th to do some additional work and try to get together every other month for the next year. This decision is not going to get any easier 1 year or 5 years from now. It's going to be a tough decision whenever we do it. And I do think that we've got the things lined up to give us the highest likelihood that we are going to come up with a good solution to this problem that Canadians and Americans and everyone, I think, really is going to support, and is something that generations from now, people will be thankful that we devoted the time, energy, and resources to come up with a solution. So again, I apologize for having to speak and run, and I hope you will forgive me. Next time I'll try to plan my social calendar with my business calendar a little bit better. I haven't been doing that as well. But thank you very much.